call to order the regular meeting for December 6, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see some students in the audience. If you are here as a class requirement, please get an agenda. There's some over by the door if you don't have one, and then at the end of the meeting you can come up and get it signed by anyone at the table, okay? Roll call.
Larry Armstrong.
Here.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Here.
Sean Douglas.
Here.
Mike Howry. Here. Michelle Hayes.
Here. Can I get approval of the agenda, please?
So moved. I'll second.
Questions or comments? Roll call.
Larry Armstrong.
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Yes.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Mike Howry.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Can I have approval of the minutes from the special meeting November 13th, 2016?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Yes.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Mike Howry.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Larry Armstrong.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Also, approval of the meeting minutes from regular meeting from November 22nd of 2016.
I'll move. Second.
Roll call.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Mike Howry.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Larry Armstrong.
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Okay, we're on to our first public participation of the evening. This is for any member of the public who would like to stand and address the board. You have 5 minutes. And this is on agenda items only. At the end of the meeting, we will have another public participation open to any topic. Okay, reports and recommendations of the treasurer, please.
Thank you. I have just a few items that are not on the agenda that I wanted to discuss briefly. As I talked about at the last meeting, our audit had been completed. We signed up on the waiver of the post audit, and much to my surprise, yesterday the state auditors released the audit. It's incredibly quick. If you remember a year ago in February, I was complaining that it was 7.5 months after the year end, and we still didn't have an audit, and I didn't think that was timely enough. Well, this year it was December 5th and our audit got released. So one of the documents I gave you is a printed copy of the audit. If you go through it and have any questions, feel free to contact me. And as has been customary since I've been here, there will be a link on the treasurer's webpage to directly go to the audit starting tomorrow morning. I typically like to have the board members get it in their hands. So they can go to our website, or they can go to the Auditor of State's website, do an audit search, look for Madison, and there we are. The second item that I passed out was the management letter. We do have a couple of items that they noted just for better management of the school district. One of them had to do with outstanding checks. A check older than 90 days needs to be put into a special fund, and then after 5 years, that money goes back into the general fund. We've been doing it yearly. They want it every 90 days, so we will immediately start doing that. So anything older than 90 days will be moved in one lump sum into the, I think it's 022. And then every month at the end of the month, if it's 90 days or more old, we'll move it into that fund. At the end of 5 years, into the general fund. The other item is there were some funds that did not have the budgets in the system. We have a spreadsheet that we keep track of the funds that we just use a lump sum to budget, mostly the activity funds, the district managed funds. We need to put those in, so we will immediately put in the budgets for fiscal year 2017. Other than that, I need to thank just every employee in the district, because almost everybody touches money or has some influence over a financial transaction during the fiscal year. I need to especially thank Angela and Dave and Laura Lynn and Donna from my staff. Those two had a lot of work put on them this year for the audit that typically doesn't take place. Changing audit staff, changing audit managers, different way of looking at it. They requested a lot of stuff, and sometimes 2 and 3 times, and we tried to point that out. But they dug deeper than any audit I've been involved in 20 years. So the only 2 things they found were little procedure things, which I'm very happy about. I'd prefer not to have any, but those won't reoccur. But without everybody doing what they need to do every day on every single transaction, we don't get a clean audit. So thanks to everybody, but especially thanks to those 2, because they dug into federal programs deeper than they ever have, and they did the school nutrition cluster, which is our food service program. So Kelly Minnick and Mary also need a big thank you. Again, this is 6 years now that I've been here that we've had a clean audit, except for the fact that we don't file according to generally accepted accounting principles, and I can't see us doing it. It saves us about 15 grand a year to file on cash. Everybody understands cash. Most people don't, unless you're a financial person, don't understand the accrual method. So our statements, while they aren't according to generally accepted accounting principles, they're in a format that people understand. So other than not having to spend a bunch more money, which is a great benefit, the benefit is somebody could actually look at this and hopefully make some sense. So anybody looking at the audit on the website starting tomorrow morning, if they have any questions, they can contact me, and my contact information is on that page, and it's also contained in the audit report. Any question on those first 2 things? Okay. And then the only other item is after the technology presentation last week, I think Mike had asked for just the written part. So Bob just printed off what he was reading from, and I just put a little header on it, printed off, and gave it to you tonight. So
Thank you.
it's everything that you should have heard 2 weeks ago. Any questions on the stuff that isn't on the agenda?
Thank you for your work on the audit.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not pleasant, but it's necessary. We appreciate it.
That is definitely part of the job. So. Okay, so the first item is I'm seeking approval of the financial reports for all funds, the fund-to-fund transfer report, and the check payment register for November 2016.
So moved?
I'll second.
Questions or comments? Roll call?
Mike Howry,
Yes.
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Larry Armstrong,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0. The next item is something that is new this year. If you recall, about a year ago, we ended up borrowing against the permanent improvement levy so we could get some buses into our fleet. We were looking to buy 3 buses. That debt is funded by the PI, the permanent improvement or capital improvement levy. So as we collect funds, I have to put them in Fund 003. But to pay the debt, I have to pay it out of another fund. So the only way to get the money there is to transfer it. So that's what that is. That's the first of 3 principal payments that we will make. So I'm looking for an approval of a transfer from Fund 003 Capital Projects to Fund 002 Debt Service in the amount of $85,677.50.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mike, is that the cost of just the one bus?
Buses are just a little bit more than that. I think they were between 85 and 88, depending on whether we bought them off the lot, which these were, or if you order them. They seem to be slightly more if you order them. You buy them off the lot, if they have them that meet your specs, because they have to meet your specs, they seem to be cheaper, and typically they have more than what you spec. I don't know why it works that way, but it does.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Larry Armstrong,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Sean Douglas,
Yes.
Mike Howry.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0. And finally, looking for approval to accept the following donations. A generous donation of $30 from Valerie Bain to the Madison High School Key Club to be used for Key Club activities. Donation of $147 from Cardinal Woods Nursing Home to Madison High School Key Club to be used for Key Club activities. Donation of hams and turkeys from American Legion Post 601 to North Elementary School that were donated to families in need for Thanksgiving, and a donation of $175 from American Legion Post 601 to North Elementary School to cover the cost of Pictures with Santa during their North Pole event.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Thank you for the generous donations.
Roll call?
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes?
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Mike Howry?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Vote is 5-0. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reports of the administrative team?
Okay, well, we've got Bob Dyak here to talk about the Levy Committee, but before we do that, I have a couple quick updates. As you know, the Auditor of State, through the performance audit that had been completed earlier this year, did a study of open enrollment. And the report was very favorable to Madison for our open enrollment practices. And so I just wanted to reiterate for the community that, you know, we look at our practices so that it doesn't cost us money in the long run. That we are judicious in how we use open enrollment. And we look at our seat enrollment in each of the grade levels, seats, and as you all know, we've made some tough decisions over the years where we've had to move kids around to allow them to come to Madison, but it may not be, you know, at the two elementaries which school they want to be in. But very pleased with that report for Madison. I have an update on the survey from OSBA, following up on some of the questions that were generated at the last board meeting. The success of the survey is based on how well we market it. So if we market it to all the target stakeholders that we want to get information from, we should be able to generate the results that we're looking for. Cheryl felt very strongly that any more access is not an issue because they can do it via cell phone. We can offer it in the schools. Senior Centers has a computer. The library will be open again by the time we are ready with the survey. There are questions identifying the stakeholder group to make sure that we're getting the cross-segment of the population that we'd like to look at. And while it's not reliable and validity in the same way some of the other surveys are, it does have a 3% confidence level, is what Cheryl talked about. And so she said that those results would generalize over time, so that if you gave the survey in January and 2 years down the road gave the same survey, you would get the same type of results. And given the blessing of the board, we would gather to begin the preliminary draft of what we would like to look at on a survey at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. And I'd like 2 board members to be a part of that. Questions?
Yes, the question that I had was, along with identifying, you know, the respondents so that we can categorize them demographically, my question was, the software system that they use, does it allow for random responses to be chosen so that we can have the number of responses from each demographic
Yes.
correlate to what our voter population is? So say there's, you know, say we deem the senior citizen population vote for, you know, voter demographics to be 30% of our vote. Can we at random choose 30% of the responses from the survey in our total of responses and do that for each category so that the results are more projectable?
So you'd like to take random samples from each to total 100%, but put them in the percentages that they exist in our
Based on
voting.
our voter population, so that they're more projectable to what a true vote would be at the polls.
In case 80% of our survey respondents come from a particular group, but that only
Exactly.
represents.
If we have, you know, for example, I'm assuming that our parent voters are going to be overrepresented in the survey as compared to how they represent at the polls. And I would just like to be able to have them represented in the survey at the same rate that their voices
Got it.
count at the polls.
Got it.
That was the question that I had, so.
Okay.
If we can find that out, that would be helpful.
Okay. And my head was a little foggy.
I get it.
At the last meeting.
You're quite sick.
I was. But I will get an answer for that from her and email it to everybody in the update on Friday.
Thank you.
No problem. And per the board's request, I have Bob Dyak here this evening to talk a little bit about the Levy Committee and where we're at and what our plans are and as far as the committee work to date.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We had our initial meeting back in September, October, and really since then, we've kind of been identifying the key committees, and also from the input of the September, October meeting, we actually have the people that stepped forward to be those committee chairs. And that's the critical piece, is the committee work, because every one of those can happen at different times during this process, and they have to be done in a very timely manner and very effectively. So those committee chairs will also serve on the steering committee, which is the bigger committee, which really will build out the plan in great detail, step by step. We do have a roadmap to follow that should guide us and keep us focused on the right things. We do have to fill in the blanks and match those steps with our own demographics, our own situation, our own community needs. I think we are sitting somewhere around 30 on our current committee, but that will be and does need to be expanded. Additional staff, additional community volunteers, but I believe that we should be able to do that very quickly once we get some of these committees up and rolling. One of the key committees is a volunteer committee, which is to develop, recruit, and indoctrinate volunteers, match up their needs, or they're not their needs, but their skills with some of the things that we need to have done. Fundraising committee, hope everybody bought their tickets for next week. We have a fundraiser coming down at the Wagon Wheel next week to get us kicked off. I know that we're talking about doing some community survey work, which we're going to meet next week sometime. The first steering committee meeting is going to be January 4th as we come back up, and that is probably one of the key meetings, is because we'll really start to put the roadmap together and detail the work that needs to be done specifically by each person that's on the committee. Working within the timeline of possible May, we need to make sure that we build the plan so that we can execute things in time to have that message out there to the community, but at the same time be making the plans of what if and go forward to November. So we don't want to just truncate our committees in April or March and say you're done. We really want to take this as a long-term plan. We have a first crack at it, and then if that doesn't work, then we certainly have to fill in the timelines right behind that, and that would happen now. You wouldn't want to plan for it after you possibly failed, but you would really want to plan for that now, so that you kept building on top of what you've already built. You don't want to lose that momentum that we built. So, I don't know if there would be any questions or specifics you want to ask. But, we do have our heads pretty deep into this already.
So from here, after the fundraiser on Monday, what will be the next step after that?
The big step is going to be the steering committee, which will be these committee chairs got to assemble. And we're already drafting out what part of the work goes to which committee. We've really got to fill that in greater detail. And to me, it's very specific. What are we going to do? Who's going to do it? When does it need to be done? And if you don't do that, you know, if you don't leave it, if you leave it any vagueness in that, you won't get there. So that's really the key, is to give all the volunteers a role and something that they can understand and want to do and can get done. And that will feed the bigger picture.
Bob, how many months does does a campaign need for its messaging to have optimal success? And will you meet that deadline? So, is the question clear?
Well, you got to be careful that we don't reinvent the wheel. We're not alone, and the needs of the community, and many of the communities in Lake County are going to be a little similar. So we need to build off of that and customize to Madison. And that is, that message is critical. It's not about money. It's about value. It's about
Sure.
what are we going to deliver to those kids. So the money's a given. And that, to me, is, that has to happen quickly. We have to understand what we're driving, what are we going to deliver to the community.
So is May a reasonable target for you?
It's, if we get the support, yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's a little bit unknown, I get that, but I think we know.
Okay.
We know that soft skills are lacking. I'm not an educator, but, people in the community that are hiring people and, we're getting feedback everywhere that, we need to go a little further. And, we need to build character. It's not just technology that makes kids successful today. It's more than that. So that adaptability, setting goals, having good values, starting earlier. That's really another piece of it, and that's likely what we'll find out is it may not be a middle school, high school thing. It may be a lot earlier than we think.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, but just we have to have an open mind to realize and have that vision of what we're going to do, what we're going to deliver.
I appreciate you coming because your confidence in your messaging for our decision-making, bringing you and us together helps the confidence level of the board to make good decisions. So stay in touch. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
That is all I have this evening. Mr. Boe has an update.
Okay, send this. It's a new initiative in the state of Ohio, and I'm sure we have mentioned it in passing over the past year and a half, but I want to get in a little bit more detail. Every school district in Ohio will be offering either the ACT or the SAT one time at no cost to the student in their junior year, beginning with this year's class. So I just wanted to let you know what we're doing, why we're doing this, and some of the timelines associated. It is new in law, and it is one of the pathways to graduation. So in the document that I handed out, you can see the 3 boxes on the right side. So in addition to the accumulation of credits, which we're all used to, for Madison it's 24 credits. The state minimum is 20 credits, but we require 24 credits. In addition to that, students have to accomplish one of the tasks in one of the 3 boxes on this page. Either they earn enough points through end-of-course tests, and you can see the tests listed out there at the top. Students take those on an ongoing, they're taking them right now at the high school. So they have to earn a total of 18 points.
To date. Could change.
Right, that's the current number to be a graduation requirement. That is being discussed at this point. Another pathway is to earn an industry-recognized credential. So this would pertain to a lot of students who attend Auburn Career Center, They would earn a credential and also have to pass an examination called work keys. So that's another way to sort of earn, in conjunction with your credits, to earn a high school diploma. The third method is scoring a remediation-free score on the ACT or SAT. Now, as a district, we had to select one or the other. We went with ACT, as did the vast majority of school districts in Ohio. ACT is the exam that's most recognized by schools in Ohio. So we think that it's very appropriate for our students. And so that test will be delivered, it's paper and pencil. And again, many students, and many of you know, students can take this test over and over and over again. And often students will take it multiple times to try to get the highest score. They're able to get one administration of this paid for by the state of Ohio. It will be a paper test, which is common to how students would take it on their own. The date is March 21st of this year, with a makeup date of May 3rd. So that's when it will occur. Our district is currently registered. We know materials are arriving in our district in February. And we've been working, in fact, we worked this morning on making sure that we're understanding the allowable accommodations for students with disabilities. So there's a lot that goes into administering a test. This is another state test with a lot of requirements and security and training and everything else that goes along with that, but it is a nice opportunity for our students. To prepare for this, one of the benefits so far we're seeing at the high school of our teaming, Mr. Fisher has put together a high school committee with the purpose of looking at the ACT. We have a couple teachers on staff. I know Mr. Harold and Ms. Kemper, who have been doing ACT prep with students for a while now. They're on this committee, and they're coming up with suggestions for all teachers in the building of ways that they can embed ACT prep into regular lessons. So that'll be kind of nice. Really, I think that's pretty much the program in a nutshell. We're hoping to pull it off as smoothly as the other testing has gone so far. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them at this time.
Can a student take the end of year exams as many times as, or end of course exams as many times as needed to pass it?
Yes. Yeah. The first time they can take it is after completion of that course. So if it's geometry, they can't take it prior to that. But once they've taken it once, each time an administration comes around, they can do retakes.
And is there a cost to the students for additional tests for the end of course exams?
No.
But there is, after the one ACT, if they want to continue to take that, there's cost to the students.
Yes.
And is work keys a new test?
I'm not sure if it's new. It's new in terms of its role here in the state of Ohio for a graduation requirement.
And is that also a test that they can take as many times as they need to take to
Yeah,
pass
I don't
it?
know the answer to that. Do you?
No, the counselors have been working with Auburn on that because Auburn has been trained in giving that test, and so they're working with Auburn on the rollout of that.
We had a conversation about that this morning at the high school, and there's still a lot of questions around the industry credential pathway. And I think even Auburn is still kind of learning some of the nuances of it. So there's a lot of questions that we still need answered for that pathway.
And the guidance counselors, they go to monthly meetings and they talk about that there. So they're bringing the information back to us.
In my mind, the ACT pathway is one of the most challenging for students. The scores, if you look in the box, to have a remediation-free score, that's an 18 in English, a 22 in math, and a 22 in reading. And I just feel like there's a better chance of scoring 18 points on end-of-course tests for a lot of students than hitting some of those numbers. But it's based on state averages. But it is another pathway, so it's good that there's multiple ways to get there, not just the one test.
I think it's the most relevant pathway. It might be more challenging, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the challenge.
For college-bound students.
For college-bound students, yes.
Right. I agree. And I'm glad it's a free opportunity, and I'm glad that we'll have data on all of our students taking it, because I think that will be valuable data to us. In the past, we've only been able to look at our average based on those who chose to take it.
Mm-hmm. No, that'll be a great benchmark to see how we're doing in at least college preparedness.
Yeah. Agreed.
One of the challenges right now with the way they wrote the law is the students with disabilities who are most severe that are alternatively assessed, right now in the law are required to take it. So we're looking to the legislature for relief, and I think you might have gotten an update about Senate Bill 3 today from OSBA, and I think one of the things was some relief to that provision that they're looking at. There's a whole lot of things in the lame duck session. It would behoove you, and I'll send another copy out on Friday in the update, but they're going to be taking testimony on all sorts of things. They're going to do a lot in the next 2.5 weeks. So, any additional questions? If not, ready for the recommendations?
Yes, please.
Okay. We're asking for approval tonight in the following employment contracts to approve as a substitute teacher by the Lake County Educational Service Center and/or Madison Local School District's superintendent under a 1-year limited substitute teacher contract, Jessica Humphrey, to employ Kelly Hertrick under a long-term substitute teacher contract from December 2nd, 2016 through January 20th, 2017 to perform the duties of Chad Burgard. The board is looking to amend the following contract, to amend the MMS Winter Cheerleading Advisor contract issued to Mishonda Hissam in board motion number 12616 to reflect correct pay rate of $1,128 at .03 in 1 year, and to amend the hours of Tracy Gortz, special education preschool assistant, from 3 hours to 6 hours effective December 5th, 2016.
I'll move.
A second?
Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes?
Sean Douglas,
Yes.
Mike Howry,
Yes.
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Larry Armstrong,
Yes.
vote is 5-0.
Looking for approval for the board policy update for the second reading of board policies 1619, privacy protections of fully insured group health plans, 3223, standards-based school counselor evaluation, and procurement and use of EpiPen auto-injectors in emergency situations.
So moved?
A second?
Questions or comments? Roll call.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Mike Howry?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes?
Vote is 5-0.
And the consent calendar this evening has one item on it, to enter into an agreement between Madison Local Schools and Excusio Rehabilitation Services to provide licensed therapists to perform consultation services for the 2016-17 school year.
So moved?
I'll second.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to clarify that that is to look at our existing services and provide recommendations as to how we can best use our personnel.
Roll call.
Mike Howry?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes?
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Okay, we are now on to our second public participation of the evening. At this time, anyone in the public that would like to address the board, you may do so. You have 5 minutes, and please stand, state your name and address. And is there anyone who would like to say anything?
Joe Vulcan, 7294 Ross Road. Has anyone from the township contacted the high school about videotaping the township meetings? I brought this up at a township meeting once, and they said that they were going to look into it.
I have not been contacted, and they would have to go through me because Joe works through me, so.
Okay, yeah. But, yeah, there's such a lag time between the meetings, and then they post the meetings, and there's like, it's almost a month before you really get to see what's at the meetings. And so I thought that they would, you know, benefit from the public being able to see it. And in relation to this levy, what is the levy for?
Well, At the last meeting, we talked about where we're at financially as a district. In 2019, we're showing a deficit. We have cut and cut and cut, so we can't, there's no more places to cut. As Mike and I have discussed it the previous meeting, and that we have to look at ways to fund our schools.
Well, where is the deficit coming from? I mean,
I will allow Mike to talk about that.
Basically, for the last, well, since I've gotten here and probably before that, our revenue's been flatlined. So we're getting the same amount this year that we got last year, that we got the year before. And inflation affects expenses. So every year as we come along, we have to cut for inflation. We're on a $25 million budget, 3% inflation means we have to figure out how to cut $750,000 every year. And that's what we've done since shortly before I got here. Our expenses right now are less than they were in 2000, I know 2009 for sure. It might be as low as 2006. Our revenue's remaining the same. Our expenses are growing through nothing other than inflation. We're not adding staff. Our employees for 4 of the last 7 years took no increase in the base, paid more in health insurance. We've cut 84 people, 86 people, something like that. We joined consortiums to better manage our health insurance. Went a couple years without any increase in health insurance. But at some point, you run out of things to cut. And you have to find a way to increase your revenue. And right now, the way we're looking at would be a levy. Again, revenue's flatline, expenses will continue to rise because of inflation. Every year we have to cut for inflation, and that is why the deficit is occurring. It compounds itself.
none of this is occurring because of the expansion of our school system though, right? I mean, you know, we paid a big levy there to get this new school system built, and we were promised there were going to be no new taxes to support that. And then,
The levy that was passed is for the bond issue. And I would say the bond issue and the building of the 2 new buildings has helped this district become more efficient. We went from 3 buildings down to 2. We have better energy efficient buildings because they're 3 years old as compared to, I don't know how old this building is, or, you know, Homer Nash was
1928?
yeah, so you're looking at a 90-year-old building. They're more energy efficient. So there haven't been more operating dollars or operating dollar needs because of those 2 buildings. They may have actually helped us over the last 3 years, stave off, you know, maybe another year of a deficit.
so then, in essence, you're saying that the personnel and retirement benefits are really, and the health issue is what's really killing us.
Not strictly. You know, every year there's more special education students that are identified, and every year the cost of providing services to a special education student that was here last year goes up greater than the rate of inflation. In our 5-year forecast, I look at, you know, our healthcare costs going up 10%. A lot of that's out of our control because our healthcare costs are based on usage. Everything else I do at the rate of inflation of 2 or 3%, except for special education costs. Those are 8%. So a kid this year receiving services next year is going to be 8% more. But there's going to be another one. You know, we have a couple hundred of them. 10% rise, there's another 20 every year. So it's a snowball of higher costs every year and more kids. The utility costs go up. Even though we're in consortiums and we try and lock in prices, utility costs fluctuate. So to say it's strictly the wages and the retirement and the benefits is not accurate, because in the past 5 years, where wages might have gone up, they've stayed steady or gone down because we've cut people. So unfortunately, the area of the budget that we have the greatest control over is the wages, and freezing wages and cutting employees is how we've done it. And there's not a whole lot of people left. Those 84 people were doing something. Ask the kids. They're sitting in study halls because we don't have enough teachers to give them classes.
in the case of open enrollment, aren't we actually making money there?
We are. We are.
So that is a source of income, really.
And we take as many kids in as we can based on Angela managing that. You can't bring in kids that put you over a load that ends up, you don't want to take in a 29th kid and add a teacher.
Right.
That doesn't work.
Absolutely, I understand.
I will tell you, the auditor of state, when they put it out and said the amount that we're making, I think they've underestimated. I think we're making more than that in open enrollment. I understand how they calculated it. I happen to disagree with it. I think we're making more. But even with their calculation, we're still making 100 and,
78,000?
yeah. So open enrollment helps this district.
But we do reach a point, though, that we can't accept anymore. I mean,
We do.
At some point, we
And
will,
we do.
yes.
on the downside of this.
Correct, right. And Angela manages that, and, you know, there are kids that don't get here because we can't take them.
Okay, thank you.
At some point, it's the community's decision as to what type of school district we have and what type of services we provide kids. So the way to get that feedback from the community members is to let them decide and take it to a vote. So it's their responsibility.
Did anybody else want to approach the board? Sure.
Hi, Nancy Curry, Madison Public Library. I just wanted to add to what Mr. Boe was saying about the ACT classes and the preparation. Mr. Fisher and his staff have been working with the library staff, and they're going to offer 2 series of intensive ACT prep classes in January and February. One in January, one in February. Their strategies, understanding the test, understanding how the choices you make on it impact your decisions, and what kinds of questions to expect. They're 4-week-long classes. It will be, there's a charge for them of $20 for the entire series, which is minuscule compared with the price to take it through one of these prep centers.
Yes.
You can't buy the prep book for,
Right,
For the-
it basically covers the cost of the materials they're going to
I
use.
learned something from you tonight. I'm going to ask Mr. Fisher, hey, tell me about this.
So those will be, they'll start doing sign up on those pretty soon, and the class sizes are going to be limited. So if you know someone who needs those prep classes, tell them to get signed up.
and thank you for the participation.
Thank you.
Or for the partnership.
Yeah, that'll work.
Appreciate it.
I know one kid that'll be coming.
Do we have a need for executive session tonight?
Yes, number 5.
Number 5. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, rules, or state statutes?
So moved?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Larry Armstrong,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes?
Sean Douglas,
Yes.
Mike Howry,
Yes.
vote is 5-0.